coat. I need to go like get like find that like spring coat or something. I don't really have fall coats. But I was like, whoa, I need a shawl or something. It's cold out here. I'm not prepared for this.
sit down for a second. Good afternoon, ma'am. The county requested we keep their people separate. Are you okay with doing Mr. Frazan first right now, and then I grab everybody else?
That's completely fine. I'm just trying to find out which public defender met with them earlier, or who's supposed to be here for arraignments.
All right, we'll have Mr. Frazan's seat until you call him. When he's done, I'll go grab everyone else then.
Excellent, thank you.
Sit down. She'll call you.
All these unnecessary disturbance,
Yes.
here guys charge.
Both of them. Don't show only two. She'll explain to you their alternate counts.
So we offer,
No, she'll explain to you. If you still have questions about it, I'll put it. Yes.
Well, we're still waiting for the public defender. Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the city of Lansing versus Lauren Lee Way. File number is 20-031040M. Have your appearance, counsel.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Gidget James on behalf of Lauren Way, who is also present at defense table and standing to my right.
Thank you. How are you, Ms. Way?
Good, how are you, Your Honor?
Well, thank you.
Of course.
Today is the day that is set for an arraignment, and I have here a misdemeanor complaint that alleges that on or about July 25th, 2020, at the area of East Michigan Ave at or near home, city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did in count one allegedly said crowd, obstruct, block, or free or uninterrupted passage on or use of any street, sidewalk, alley, entrance of any public or private residence or enclosure, or the use of or passage through the public, any public building or conveyance, and continue to resume the crowding, obstructing, or blocking after being instructed by law enforcement officer to cease the crowding, obstructing, or blocking at or near East Michigan Ave or homes. Sounds interesting.
It sounds familiar, ma'am, but,
Okay, yeah, I don't need you to even address it. I recognize also this is over 2 years old, so I just think it's an interesting way to verbalize a city ordinance. Okay, nonetheless, there's a count two, alleging that you did hinder, obstruct, oppose, or resist the Lansing police officer in the performance of his or her duties at or near East Michigan Ave, near home, city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan. Count one, the one about the building blocking, is a misdemeanor, and the maximum penalty is 90 days and or $500 in fines, as is count two. It's a misdemeanor under the city ordinance, maximum penalty 90 days and or $500 in fines. You understand each of the charges and the maximum penalty there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you have the right to be represented by counsel. You have presented yourself before the court today with private counsel by way of Ms. James. You have the right to have an attorney with you at each stage of the prosecution of this matter. And if you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have an attorney appointed to represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm assuming she's declining court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, and so you have the right in this matter to proceed to trial. You have the right at trial to have the city bring sufficient evidence to prove each element of the charge being brought against you, and they have to prove the elements of the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to be presumed innocent at trial until proven guilty. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses that the city intends to call. And you have the right to call your own witnesses at trial or present evidence that you believe would further a defense to the charge. Do you have any questions about those rights so far?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Then you have the right to plead guilty, plead not guilty, or stand mute. This matter is scheduled for pretrial before Judge Tony Flores, and that's going to be Tuesday, October 4th, 2022 at 9:30 in the morning. Let's see here. Does it indicate? I'm inclined to believe that this pretrial will take place via Zoom. If all parties are agreeable to that. You can always come in person if you don't have access to Zoom, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And so did you get a copy of your notice to appear for that? I see it looks like you also got Zoom instructions as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Would this be a correct time to tell you that my address is incorrect on the paper?
it would absolutely be a correct time. What's your address?
My new address is 507 Franklin, FRANKLYNN,
Lansing, Michigan, 48917.
Are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you employed?
I work at Wildside Smoke Shop in East Lansing. They're located at 1101 East Grand River Avenue.
Okay, and then lastly, do you have a telephone number?
Yes, ma'am. 517-574-1983.
And do you have any questions at this time?
If the court does need to reach me and it's by phone, if I don't answer, just leave it into a message and I'll get back.
It's not likely that the court will reach out to you directly. You have an attorney, so they'd reach out to your attorney, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so for the purposes of arraignment, she's pleading not guilty, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so the court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Sounds like you turned yourself in on these outstanding warrants that are over 2 years old. Bond will be set in the amount of 500 personal recognizance. You need to make sure you appear to all of your future court dates, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
And if you have any questions, I'm sure your attorney could advise you on that. That's all I have on this. Any additional matters on the record?
No, for business. Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate it.
No problem. You're all set, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Then we still have a public defender. I thought you said the public defender was here. No? She said there was someone in the room back there that she thought was the public defender.
She came back, so nobody's in there.
Yeah, we're having a hard time seeing it.
I'm blind when I got glaucoma. Yes,
You don't want
I'll give somebody
it?
in there.
I'll give it to you. I'll slow them up.
Does anybody in the jail know which a public defender met with the defendants today?
I do not, ma'am. I can go check real quick, or I can try to.
Okay.
Some of the stuff is wrong.
What?
I tell you that.
Man, one of the detention staff just advised he thought it was Miss Donnelly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Donnelly, can you hear us?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Okay, we're gonna start with Mr. Fasan. We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Anthony Bernard Fasan, file number 22-02511FY. Council appearance.
Thank you, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Sarah Donnelly on behalf of the defendant, Anthony Ferson, who is appearing separately from Lansing Police Department.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Fasan, I have here a felony complaint that alleges that on or about July 29, 2022, at the area of 824 Conrad, apartment C5, located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count one commit the act of home invasion first degree. It alleges that you did break and enter or enter without permission at the dwelling located at 824 Conrad, apartment C5. And while entering, present in, or exiting, did commit animal, kill, or torture, second degree, which is a felony. And while entering, present in, or exiting the dwelling, Karen Stone was lawfully present therein. This is contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.11082. That's a felony, and the maximum penalty is 20 years in prison and or $5,000 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed for any other conviction arising out of the same transaction. There's a count two, animals killing, torturing, second degree. It alleges that you did or did threaten to knowingly kill or torture a kitten, contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.50B4. That's a felony, and the maximum penalty is 7 years in prison and or $5,000 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed for any other conviction. Not more than 500 hours of community service. Court may order psychiatric evaluation. They may order cost of prosecution, care, housing, or veterinary care as applicable. And it may be ordered not to own or possess an animal. And the alternative to count two, there's a count three. It's animals killing, torturing in a third degree. It alleges that you did, without just cause, commit a reckless act, knowing or having reason to know that the act will cause an animal to be killed, tortured, mutilated, maimed, or disfigured, and that this is contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.50B. That's a felony, and the maximum penalty is 1 year in prison, 4 years in prison and or $5,000 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed for any other conviction, not more than 500 hours of community service. Court may order psychiatric evaluation. They may order cost of prosecution, care, housing, or veterinary care as applicable. And it may be ordered that you not own or possess an animal. There's a count four of domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault or assault and battery upon a Karen Stone, an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. Restitution is possible, as this offense may have caused damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual under MCL 780.811A. This is a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if this assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a second offense notice for the domestic violence. It says, take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of assaulting or assaulting and battering his or her spouse, former spouse, an individual with whom he or she had a dating relationship, an individual with whom he or she had a child in common, or a resident or former resident of his or her household, or of knowingly assaulting a pregnant individual by violating Michigan Compiled Law 750.812 on or about March 12, 2001, and therefore upon conviction will be subject to an enhanced sentence under MCL 750.814. That would make the maximum penalty a misdemeanor, 1 year and or $1,000 in fines. Again, a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a habitual offender, second offense notice. It says, take notice that the defendant was previously convicted of a felony or an attempt to commit a felony in that on or about June 18, 2014, he was convicted of the offense of larceny in a building in violation of Michigan Compiled Law 750.360 in the 30th Circuit Court for Ingham County, State of Michigan. Therefore, defendant is subject to penalties as provided by Michigan Compiled Law 769.10. That is 1 1/2 times the maximum sentence on the primary offense or a lesser term. The maximum penalty cannot be less than the maximum term for the first conviction. Mr. Fasson, do you understand the charges and the maximum penalty that's attached to each of those charges?
I don't understand them, but I hear you.
Okay. Okay, so you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty, you have the right to plead not guilty, and you have the right to stand mute. You have the right to be represented by counsel. You have representation today from the Office of the Public Defender's Office. But they're here for the purposes of your arraignment only. You have the right to have an attorney with you at each stage of the criminal prosecution, and if you cannot afford to hire your own attorney, you can request to have an attorney appointed at the expense of the public. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have the right to have a preliminary examination in this matter because you're being charged with a felony. You have the right to have that examination within 21 days of today's date. At the time of examination, you have the right to have the prosecution establish their burden of probable cause. So they have to establish that there's sufficient evidence that a probable cause exists, that a crime was committed, and probable cause sufficient to charge you as a defendant who committed the crime. You understand that?
Yes.
If this matter proceeds beyond the preliminary examination, you have the right to have a trial. You have the right to have a jury trial, or you can have a trial by judge, which is a non-jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses that are being called. And you have the right to call your own witnesses at trial or present evidence that you believe would further defense. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have any questions at this time?
No, I don't know what's going on.
Okay. You have the right to have the prosecution at trial prove each element of the charge being brought against you, and they have to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. And when you say you don't understand what's going on, I'm assuming you mean as to why you're being charged with this. Is that what you mean?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, but you
Just-
do understand the nature of the charges and the maximum penalty, and you understand your rights, sir?
Yes, I understand what you said to me, yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, and my understanding is he was recently bound over on another matter today. Does he have a bond on that matter?
Yes, Your Honor. It's my understanding it's a $5,000 cash or surety.
Okay.
No, I take that back. It's a 10%.
Okay, thank you. Do you have are you currently employed, Mr. Fasson?
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
Okay, what's your home address?
2385 Cedar Park Drive, Hope, Michigan. Apartment 325, 48842.
What's your phone number?
My phone number is 517-619-1001 or 268-517-268-0273. But I have an apartment in my name though. I don't know if I should say that now or what, I don't know.
You say you have an apartment in your name?
Well, that's
Your Honor, I believe he's referring to the Conrad address.
yes,
Okay, but the Conrad address, is that where Ms. Stone resides?
she's an occupant
Okay, thank you. Okay, you're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Flores on September 29th, 2022 at 9 o'clock in the morning. You have a
Yes, Your Honor.
preliminary examination before Judge Flores. That's going to be Thursday, October 6th, 2022 at 9 o'clock in the morning. Your preliminary examination will be in person at the court, okay?
Okay,
Now, your probable cause conference that can be held, and I believe you provide information for that to be held via Zoom. Did you get a notice to appear for that date, sir?
yes, I did, Your Honor.
Okay. For the purposes of his arraignment, how would he like to plead?
He'll plead not guilty, Your Honor.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Okay, and you can address bond at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Besides the 10% $5,000 bond that he is on, he also has a hold out of the 30th Circuit. I believe it has something to do with a family court case. And it's my understanding that there is no bond on that. So for those reasons, at this time, we would be requesting either a low 10% or cash surety. Thank you, Your Honor.
Bond will be set in the amount of 5,000, 10% while out on bond. There is a no contact order that'll be put in place to protect Karen Stone. You now have to be within 1,500 feet of wherever Ms. Stone lives, works, or goes to school, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that means you cannot be at the address of 824 Conrad, apartment C5, if that's where she's residing. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
You need to make sure you appear to all of your future court dates while you are out on bond. You're also not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. Not to possess or purchase a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. Not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. Not to use, purchase, or possess drugs or alcohol unless you have a valid prescription. You need to report
Yes,
to
ma'am.
pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. You're going to be reporting to them weekly, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions about your bond conditions?
No, I don't.
Okay. Any additional matters for the record at this time?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, you're all set, Mr. Hassan.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No problem. Donnelly? Mr. Donnelly, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, Sam, Did you get a notice to appear for something today?
Yes, I'm with Ron Heather. I was told to join a few minutes before 1:30.
Donley, Donley. You said you're with Ron Haldy?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Ron Haldy is the attorney for the defendant. Okay, sounds good. Okay, Nicholas Kelly. Nicholas Kelly. Mr. Haldy? Can you hear me, Mr. Haldy? If so, you need to unmute yourself. Miss Donnelly, they said they needed to switch over after Mr. Fasson because they needed to keep the county inmate separate.
Okay. Now I'm here. I see, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Haldy, I don't have a defendant here yet. I am also in the middle of arraignments. So if the defendant does appear, I'm going to put you all in a private meeting room while I continue with the arraignments. And if you can come to any agreement, then that would be meaningful. You did have another person here, it looked like, but maybe they logged off.
There should have been two here on behalf of the defendant, Your Honor. Yeah, they're both here,
Okay, I
Ronald
see them
Donnelly and
now.
Nicholas Kelly.
Okay, yep, they're both here still. Okay, so if the defendant appears, then I'll put you all in a private meeting room.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Sorry about the delay, man. We have all 7 people in here now.
Okay, that's great. We'll start with Cody Dotts. We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Cody Michael Dotts, file number 22-01474, FY council appearance.
Assistant Public Defender Sarah Donnelly on behalf of the defendant Cody Dotts for the purpose of arraignment only while he appears separately from the Lansing Police Department.
Thank you, Mr. Dotts. Today is the date scheduled for arraignment. I have a felony complaint that alleges that on or about May 16, 2022, at the area of 611 Sadie Court number 34, which is in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count 1 commit the act of assault with the intent to do great bodily harm, less than murder or by strangulation. It alleges that you did make an assault upon Atasia Smith by strangulation or suffocation, that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.84. That's a felony, and the maximum penalty is 10 years in prison and or $5,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under Michigan Compiled Law 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a count 2 of domestic violence. The legislature did make an assault or an assault and battery upon a Tasia Smith, an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that this was done contrary to MCL 750.812. Restitution may be ordered as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 93 days and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty associated with the charge, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have the right to be represented by counsel, and you do have representation today from the Office of the Public Defender, but they are here only for the purposes of your arraignment. You have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have court-appointed counsel appointed at the expense of the public. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Dot, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You have the right to plead not guilty. You have the right to stand mute. You have the right in this matter to proceed to a preliminary examination because you're being charged with a felony. You have the right to have your preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date. At the time of preliminary examination, you have the right to have the prosecution bring sufficient evidence to establish their burden of probable cause. So they have to establish that there's sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you as the defendant of the crime. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
If this matter is to proceed beyond a preliminary examination, it'll be bound over to the circuit court, or it could be reduced to a misdemeanor, and you would have the right to proceed to a trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to be presumed innocent at trial until proven guilty. You have the right to have the prosecution at trial meet their burden then to prove each element of the charges being brought against you. They have to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses at trial or present evidence at trial you believe would further defense to the charge. Do you have any questions about those rights at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before me, Judge Kristen Simmons. It's going to be on September 30th, 2022 at 8:30 in the morning. You have a preliminary examination before me Friday, October 7th, 2022, also at 8:30 in the morning. The preliminary examination will be in person. The probable cause conference, you have the option of appearing via Zoom, okay?
Okay.
Did you receive notice to appear in my Zoom instructions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For the purposes of his arraignment, is he pleading not guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Mr. Dodds, are you employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you employed?
It's NEI surveys out there. I'm doing all the highways that are getting redone right now in Michigan.
What's your home address?
4109 Nixon Road, Diamonddale, Michigan, 48821.
What's your phone number?
7619-4246.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
No, ma'am.
You can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Nixon or Mr. Dots reports that he's from Lansing. He's lived on the Nixon Road address his whole life. He lives with his grandmother. He just recently started his full-time job at NEI Surveys 3 weeks ago. He reports that he has no violent or felony convictions, and he in fact turned himself in this morning. So Your Honor, I don't believe that he is a flight risk, and I do believe that the standard no contact order and reporting to pretrial services should be enough to ensure the peace. So for those reasons, we'd be requesting a personal recognizance bond or a low 10%. Thank you.
I don't see any other convictions on his criminal history here. Also, this incident is alleged to have taken place back in May, several months ago. So I think a personal recognizance bond and a no contact order is sufficient at this time. A court will issue bond in the amount of $2,500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, there's a no contact order in place for Tasia Smith. You're not to have any contact directly or indirectly with Ms. Smith, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever Ms. Smith lives, works, or goes to school. Do you have any questions about that?
No, Your Honor.
Also, while on bond, you need to make sure you appear to all of your future court dates. You're not to use, purchase, or possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to use, purchase, or possess any drugs or alcohol unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside of the state of Michigan without prior approval of the court. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of release from custody, and you'll be making a weekly report to pretrial services, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any questions for the court today?
No, ma'am.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you're all set, sir.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm sorry? Let's see here. Sean Taylor. Is anybody in the hallway? Or the bench trial? I'm wondering if the guy came to the bench trial. Okay, Mr. Haldy?
Oh.
No one has
Yes, Your
appeared
Honor.
on- No one's appeared on behalf of Michael McEwen, so the case will be dismissed for failure to proceed.
And I would indicate, Your Honor, as you probably know, this is the second time he has not appeared in the second dismissal. So thank you very much.
No problem, thank you.
Call my name, right, Your Honor?
I did. Mr. Donnelly and Mr. Kelly, you're free to go. Okay.
Not
we're on
you,
the
Mr.
record in the
Taylor.
matter. Okay, we're on the record in the matter. The people of the state of Michigan versus Sean Terrell Taylor. This is file number 22-02521. Council appearance, please.
Thank you. Assistant Public Defender Sarah Donnelly on behalf of the defendant, Sean Taylor Jr., for the purposes of arraignment only while he appears from the Lansing Police Department.
Mr. Taylor, today is the date scheduled for arraignment. I do have here a misdemeanor complaint that alleges that on or about September 21st, 2022, at the area of 3106 East Saginaw Street, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count 1 commit the acts of prescription forms possession. It alleges that you did knowingly or intentionally possess a prescription form contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 333.74032E. Can you see me still?
No, your camera turned off.
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Let's see.
There we go.
Okay. Very good. Okay. That's a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 1 year and or $1,000 in fines. There's also a count 2 of controlled substance drugs obtained by false representation. It alleges that you did attempt to obtain a prescription drug by falsely representing that he or she was acting on behalf of a lawful prescriber, dispenser, or licensee. That this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 333.17766B. This is a misdemeanor and the maximum penalty is 90 days and or $500 in fines. Mr. Taylor, do you understand each of the charges and the maximum penalty?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You have the right to plead not guilty. And you have the right to stand mute. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. Ms. Donnelly is representing you today for the purposes of your arraignment only, but if you could not afford to hire an attorney to represent you throughout the pendency of this matter, you can request to have an attorney appointed at the expense of the public. Do you understand that, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Is he thank you. Is he requesting court appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have the right to proceed to a trial in this matter, and you can have a jury trial or a non-jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You also have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence at trial that you believe would further defenses to the charges. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're currently scheduled for pre-trial conference before me, Judge Kristen Simmons, and that conference is going to be on October 11th, 2022 at 9:30 in the morning. That'll be via Zoom. You can appear in person if you would like, but the option is there for you to appear virtually so long as you have video capabilities and a good connection, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Question. When I do that, when I do that on the 11th, is it that do I put in that P-76?
Are you talking about the Zoom instructions, Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, because it just
Yes,
says
it's
via
on
Zoom.
the blue piece of paper has the Zoom instructions. So just look on the back. That's the number you need. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, I think he was looking at my P number. Yeah, you don't need to put my P number on that. That's on the notice to appear. That's my bar number that lets you know that I'm licensed to be here, okay?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry
Yeah,
about that.
you'll put, no, you're completely fine. That was a valid question. So you can put the blue sheet, and then Miss Donnelly will be available if you have any questions, or if not, if you can't get in touch with her because she'll be at court, maybe you can reach out to the court if you're having struggles logging in. I do sometimes see where people who have court have made attempts prior to court. Like I'll look on my email and I'll see it's 3 o'clock in the morning and someone tried to log in. I think they're trying to test to make sure they can get access so that they make sure they're there on purpose, on intentionally and on time, the day that they're supposed to be there. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. Sorry
So
about that.
feel free to give it a trial run. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions at this time, sir?
No, Your Honor. I'm sorry about that. I'm not used to being in
Okay,
court.
no, you're completely fine. For the purposes of his arraignment, is he pleading not guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good. Sir, are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am. I work as a cook for McShane's Pub, downtown Detroit.
What's your home address?
17203 Stahalin, Stahelin Avenue, Detroit, Michigan, 48219.
And your phone number?
313-703-6500.
Okay, you can address bond, Ms. Donnelly.
Thank you, Your Honor. As Mr. Taylor reports, he lives in Detroit. He can return here to Lansing. He assures me that he will be appearing for his court dates. He doesn't have a history of failing to appear. He does have, he reported he does have a criminal history, but reports it's not a violent history. As he said, he works at Big Shane's Pub. He's been cooking there for 6 months. He gets at least 30 hours a week. So he likes his work. He has 2 kids in the home, one full-time, one half the time. So he is providing for them. Given those reasons, Your Honor, I don't believe that he has a flight risk, and I don't believe he's dangerous. So we'll be requesting a personal recognizance bond. Thank you.
Okay, very good. I have reviewed his criminal history and I don't see any violence.
Not even a little bit, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor?
I said no violence, not even a little bit. I'm trying to keep my head straight for my kids.
Okay, well, that's good.
And I do have work tomorrow, if you wouldn't mind giving me a personal recognizance bond.
Well, I'm glad that you're employed. That's always helpful when I'm making a decision as to where to move next. You do live a bit of ways from the court, but have you ever missed court before, sir?
No. I missed a traffic ticket one time, but that's because my mom, me and her got into it. She didn't tell me I had the traffic tickets. So, but like other than that, I promise you don't have to worry about me missing court. If I miss court, you can lock me up.
Well, that's probably what will happen if you miss court. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, but that's a good promise. I like what you did there. That was good. I like what you did. Okay, so here, this is a non-violent offense. Personal recognizance bond is appropriate. Bond will be set in the matter of $500 personal recognizance. You need to appear before all of your future court dates. We've already discussed how it will be a good idea to do a little trial run on logging into Zoom so that you make sure you don't have any issues.
Yes, Ron, I'm gonna do that as soon as I get to electronics. You don't have to worry about that. You're gonna be getting a notification from Sean Taylor.
Fantastic. Also, while all on bond, sir, you need to make sure that you are not in possession or using any drugs or alcohol unless you have a prescription for the drug. Do you under a valid prescription? Do you understand that?
Yes,
I'm not making any assumptions here. I just want to make sure we are on the same page. Okay, wonderful.
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor,
Okay, very good. Excellent, excellent. Okay, also, you're not to travel outside the state of Michigan unless you get permission from the court before you leave, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon, I'm sorry, any other dangerous weapon, and you are to report to. No, you do not need to.
No, no.
report. Okay. You just need to make sure you report to all your future court dates, that's all. Do you have any
Yes.
questions about your bond condition, sir?
No, I don't. Wait, I just got one question though. You did grant the personal recognizance, or do you say I had to pay you $500? Because it was kind of
No,
skippy.
no, no, I said $500 personal recognizance, so it's personal
Okay.
recognizance.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
but-
not like I'm not used to court, but thank you. I appreciate that.
That's good. We don't, we don't want you to be so versed in this that, you've been around the ropes. I mean, you've been around some ropes, it looks like, but not enough that you should know exactly what's going on, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And then hopefully after this, I mean, you'll be such a changed person and we'll never have to see you under these circumstances again.
No more court. I like that idea.
Okay. I do too. I think your family likes it too.
Yes, Your Honor, you're right about that.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you a lot. And thank you too, Ms. Donovan.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, we'll see you at your next court date, sir.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Kyle Clark,
How you doing?
hi, how are you? This is the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Kyle Amar Clark, file number 22-02522, council appearance.
Assistant Public Defender Sarah Donnelly on behalf of the defendant Kyle Clark for the purposes of arraignment only while he appears from the Lansing Police Department.
Okay, Mr. Clark.
Yes, Sharon.
Just 1 second, sir. Are they supposed to be co-defendants? Okay, very good.
Your Honor, were they issued as co-defendants?
They were. Okay. Very good. Okay, well, Mr. Clark, we're here for a arraignment. I have a misdemeanor complaint that alleges that on or about September 21st, 2022 at the area of 3106 East Saginaw, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly contrary to law commit the act in count 1 of prescription forms possession. It's alleging that you did knowingly or intentionally possess a prescription form contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 333.74032E. That's a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 1 year and or $1,000 in fines. There's a count 2 of controlled substances, drugs obtained by false representation. It alleges that you did attempt to obtain a prescription drug by falsely representing that you were acting on the behalf of a lawful prescriber, dispenser, or licensee, and that this was done contrary to MCL 333.17766B. And that's a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 90 days and or $500 in fines. Do you understand the maximum penalty and each of the charges?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. Ms. Donnelly is only representing you today for the purposes of your arraignment. But you have the right to have an attorney to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney to represent you, you can request to have an attorney appointed at the expense of the public. Do you understand that, right?
Yes.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Clark, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You have the right to plead not guilty, or you can stand mute and proceed to trial on this matter. You have the right to have a jury trial, or you can have a non-jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to have the prosecution bring sufficient evidence to prove each element of the charges being brought against you, and at trial, they need to prove each of the elements beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to be innocent until they do that, and until you're proven guilty. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses that they call against you. And you have the right to call your own witnesses or put on evidence at trial that you believe would further a defense to the charges. Do you have any questions about those rights?
No, yeah.
Okay, you're currently scheduled for pretrial conference before me, Judge Kristen Simmons. It's going to be Tuesday, October 11, 2022 at 9:30 in the morning, okay?
Yes.
Are you currently employed?
Yes, Your Honor, I work at Bill's Home Improvement, where we clean out abandoned houses and board them up.
Is that in Southfield?
No, that's more like Detroit. We all meet up at this little workshop and we head out in the trucks to go to the houses and fix them up.
How long have you been working there?
I've been working there for like the last 2 months. I was able to get me and my baby mother and my son an apartment off the job. So I really do need this job.
Oh, very good. Okay, and what's your home address?
20840 Ramp Park Circle, Southfield, Michigan, 48033 is the zip code.
Is that an
I live
apartment
in-
number?
20840, right?
Yeah, 20840.
And then it's
Apartment number-
Rampart. RAMPART,
Yes,
or, and then apartment.
112.
What's your phone number?
810-388-8143.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
No, Your Honor, I haven't been in trouble in a long time.
And you can address bond, or the court will enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf. You can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. As he's reported, he has a good job. He does live with a significant other and a 9-year-old son. In regards to when I asked him if how good he is at coming to court, he said he had something in Tennessee and he had no problems even going to Tennessee. So he has no problems coming here to appear for his court dates. And so I don't, and like he said, he hasn't been in trouble for, he said 8 or 9 years. So for those reasons, Your Honor, we'd be requesting a personal cognizance bond. Thank you.
Did you resolve your issue in Tennessee?
Yes, ma'am. It was a little misdemeanor, but yeah, I went down there and got everything taken care of. I had to do 40 hours of community service for him.
Okay. And when was that?
That was like I want to say like a month ago, not even a full month ago.
Oh, you say you haven't been in trouble in a long time. That maybe we have to define what a long time means, huh?
Or what trouble is, yeah.
I mean, like, Your Honor, like something like I meant to do. Like, I was down there with a friend and got caught up in some bulls, you know,
I don't
that
need to
type
know
of.
the details. I just, yep, it's a misdemeanor, so that sounds
Yeah,
like
it was,
trouble to me.
yes, you're right. I apologize, Your Honor. You're right about that. But I looked at it like it wasn't my fault, like I wasn't doing it. That's why I said it like that. But I apologize.
Well, it sounds like it's been addressed. I don't see any recent criminal history in the state of Michigan. I think the last conviction I see is from 2018. Oh. Twenty 2019.
It was 17 or 18, if I'm not mistaken.
Which under my definition is not a long time ago, but I'm gonna let you have that one, okay? Because the pandemic really messed up people's time frames. But nonetheless, I'm gonna give you a personal recognizance bond. These are not non-violent offenses. Personal recognizance is appropriate. You need to make sure you appear to court for all your future court dates. Did you get a notice to appear and a Zoom instruction sheet for my courtroom?
Yes, ma'am. And I have both, yes.
Okay, very good. You need to make sure you are there on time. Make sure you have good a good signal. You need a video. You need to wear clothes. You can't be laying in the bed. If you have any questions about how to appear appropriately for Zoom court, I'm sure Ms. Donnelly can answer those for you, okay?
Yes.
Okay. And also while out on bond, you're not to use, purchase, or possess any alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to be in possession of a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. Do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor, I just thank you.
Okay, well then I will see you on the 11th of October at 9:30 in the morning. You can appear in person if you'd like, but you do have Zoom instructions. So I know you live in Southfield, so you may want to do a test run on logging in to make sure you do it properly as well, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you're all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Dunn.
You're welcome.
Jamari Bibbs. We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Jamari Tyrese Bibbs. The file number is 22-02455 SM. Counsel appearance.
Assistant Public Defender Sarah Donnelly on behalf of the defendant Jamari Bibbs for the purpose of the arraignment only while he appears from the Lansing Police Department.
Okay, Mr. Bibbs, how are you? I can't hear you. Can you speak up?
I said I'm okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Today's the date that was set for an arraignment. I do have here a misdemeanor complaint. It alleges that on or about July 12, 2022, at the area of 35300 Stabler Street, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly contrary to law commit the act in count 1 of domestic violence. It's alleging that you made an assault or assault and battery upon an Adriana Stevenson, who is an individual with whom you have a child in common and or an individual with whom you had a dating relationship. This was done contrary to Michigan Compile Law 750.812. Restitution may be ordered as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. And a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. You understand the charge, sir, and the maximum penalty?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You have the right to be represented by an attorney, and Ms. Donnelly is here to represent you for the purposes of your arraignment only. You have the right to plead guilty, plead not guilty, or stand mute. You have the right in this matter to proceed to a trial. And you have the right to have a jury trial or a non-jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses at trial or present evidence that you believe would further a defense. You have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge being brought against you. They have to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. You understand your right so far?
Yes.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're currently scheduled for pre-trial before Judge Anthony Flores. It's going to be on Monday, October 3rd, 2022 at 10:30 in the morning. And that'll be via Zoom. Did you get instructions and a notice to appear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For the purposes of his arraignment, is he pleading not guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you currently employed, sir?
No, ma'am.
What's your home address?
3416 No Net Drive.
And your phone number?
947 203 1200.
Are you on probation or parole?
I'm on parole.
You know if he's gonna have a hold because of this, Ms. Donnelly?
Your Honor, I'm not sure. Mr. Bibbs reported that it was his PO officer that told him about this warrant this morning. That's why he turned him in. Are you still sure that there hasn't been not gonna be a hold, Mr. Bibbs?
Yes. I was just on tether. They cut my tether off when I was here. I've been on tether for months. So
Okay, so your probation officer didn't say that we're gonna issue a hold for you.
no, I don't think. No.
Okay, you can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, I'm not, if there isn't gonna be a hold from his probation officer, like he said, he told me that he turned himself in this morning after, his parole officer told him about the warrant. He reports that he has been on, he was given a GPS tether 2 months ago and he's still on that, required to do it. He lives with his mother on the No Net Drive address. He is from the area. So as long as there isn't going to be a parole hold for this as an allegation, Your Honor, I would be requesting a personal recognizance bond.
This incident allegedly occurred a few months ago, but I see where it was just recently issued. And it looks like he turned himself in on the summons, and so well, probably missed the summons date. Was it the summons? Well, turn yourself in on the warrant that was just issued. Personal recognizance is appropriate. I'll issue a bond in the amount of $500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, there is a no contact order. You're not to contact directly or indirectly Adriana Renee Stevenson. Do you have any questions about what directly or indirectly means?
No, ma'am, I understand.
Okay, okay, very good. So you're not to have any communication of any kind with Miss Adriana Stevenson. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever she lives, works, or goes to school. You're not to purchase or possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You're not to use or possess any alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state of Michigan without prior approval of the court. And you need to make sure you appear to all of your court dates, okay, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about your bond conditions at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and if I didn't indicate, the court did enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Any additional matters for the record?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, you're all set, sir.
All right, thank you.
Jerry Porter.
Lloyd.
What in the world? It's a pretty interesting shirt that you're wearing there. You can go on the back. I'm sorry?
Girl made it, but just gave that better than
Oh, that's great. I'm actually gonna let you go and turn your shirt inside out, and then you can come back. We'll move on. Jason Proctor.
How you doing, your
Hi, how are you?
Sit down. No, sit down.
Pretty good.
Okay, from the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Jason Lee Proctor. This is file number 20-00751, council appearance.
Thank you, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Sayer Donnelly on behalf of the defendant Jason Proctor, who's appearing from his apartment. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Mr. Proctor, today is the day we're addressing a bench warrant. You had a warrant issued because you were supposed to be before the court for sentencing back on June 13, 2022, and you never appeared. What happened?
I'm just, man, my life's just going downhill and I just think, hey, yeah. Plus, I didn't get to, I forgot the date, and by the time I realized what day it was too late to do anything wrong.
Okay, so once you realized it, did you say, hey, let me get in contact with the court so they can, get this taken care of?
Yeah, it was, but I had a bunch of family problems and my aunt's dying right now in the hospital. And I don't know, I just going through a lot, man.
Okay, well, it looks like this matter is gonna be set for a new sentencing date before Judge Flores. It's gonna be Monday, the 17th of October at 1:30. Okay, you can address bond, Ms. Donnelly.
Well, Your Honor, I'm was pretty sure that bond was probably already addressed by Judge Flores. Mr. Proctor he reports he's homeless. He's been struggling. Of course, it says that he doesn't mean to miss court dates, but it's my understanding that he's previously missed a sentencing before with Judge Flores and was given a 5,000 10% that would convert to a PR once he got the PSI done. So if he hasn't set a bond already, I would request the court consider his he's from the area, but he obviously does not have any financial means. So any bond, cash or surety 10% would probably be prohibitive for him. So we would just be requesting a reasonable or low 10% or cash surety. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, I don't see a note from Judge Flores on this. I do see a note from Magistrate Milmore though. However, that note is from May 9th, and then he's failed to appear since then. Failed to appear on this file multiple times. This is from 2020. Looks like he failed to appear October 15th, 2020. Looks like it was reset in February of 2021. Pled guilty in February 2021. Failed to appear in April 13th, 2021. And he's been referred to sentencing multiple times. And so the bond for the 5,000 10% that reverted to PR was to get him to his sentence referral. It looks like it's unclear to me what, I'm assuming he must have appeared before the magistrate on that date which is when that was set. But then he had a sentencing that was dated for June 13th, and then he failed to appear. So at this point, I don't think that he has the ability to exercise recognizance when it comes to coming to court. Here we are 2 years later, still dealing with the same matter. That could have been dealt with a long time ago. So that everybody can move on and we can stop tying up all of these judicial resources on this matter. There's a new referral to probation because the old one was so old, he now has to do another one before he could be sentenced. I think Mr. Cornish was originally on this matter. Bond will be set in the amount of $5,000, 10%. You're referred to meet with probation so they can provide the court with an updated pre-sentence report for your sentencing, which is scheduled again for October 17, 2022 at 1:30. Do you have any questions today, sir?
So that's what, 500, you know?
That's correct.
Alright.
Okay, any additional matters for the record?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, you're all set, sir.
Thanks.
Douglas Thwaites. Say that right?
Yes.
Did I pronounce that properly?
Yes.
Okay. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Douglas Bain Thwaites, file number is 22-02519. Council appearance.
Assistant Public Defender Sarah Donnelly on behalf of the defendant Douglas Thwaites for the purpose of arraignment only while he appears from the Lansing Police Department.
Okay, Mr. Thwaites, today's the date that's set for an arraignment. I have here a felony complaint. It alleges that on or about September 19, 2022 through September 22nd, 2022 at the area of 1722 Glen Rose, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did contrary to law commit the act in count one on or about September 21st, 2022 of criminal sexual conduct first degree during felony. It alleges that you did engage in sexual penetration, to wit fellatio, with a Janet Bradley under circumstances involving the commission of another felony, that being an unlawful imprisonment. This was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.520B1C. There's a sex offender registration act notice. It says this is a tier 3 offense under the Sex Offender Registration Act, and HIV STD testing notice is also here, stating that take notice that pursuant to MCL 333.5129, upon bind over to the circuit court or recorder's court, the district court judge shall order the defendant to be tested for sexually transmitted infection, hepatitis B infection, and for the presence of HIV or an antibody to HIV, if the judge determined there is reason to believe the violation involves sexual penetration or exposure to a bodily fluid of the defendant. If the district judge determines that testing is not required upon conviction, the court must order the defendant to be tested. This is a felony. The maximum penalty is life or any term of years, mandatory lifetime electronic monitoring, mandatory AIDS, STD testing, DNA to be taken upon arrest. And the court may impose a consecutive sentence under MCL, consecutive sentence under MCL 750.520B3. There's a count 2 that alleges that on or about September 19, 2022 through September 22nd, 2022, that you allegedly committed the act of unlawful imprisonment. It alleges that you did secretly confine and knowingly restrain a Janet Bradley and or did knowingly restrain Janet Bradley to facilitate the commission of criminal sexual conduct, a felony contrary to MCL 750.349B. Again, there's a sex offender registration act notice states that this is a tier 1 offense under the Sex Offender Registration Act. If the victim is a minor, it is a tier 2 offense if the defendant has a prior conviction of a tier 1 offense. This is under MCL 28.722R and T. It is a tier 3 offense if the defendant has a prior conviction for a tier 2 offense under MCL 28.722 EU. This is a felony. The maximum penalty is 15 years and or $20,000 in fines. It also alleges in count 3 that on or about September 19, 2022, that you did commit the act of domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault or assault and battery upon a Janet Bradley, an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, contrary to MCL 750.812. There's a count 4, also domestic violence, and it alleges that this was committed on or about September 20th, 2022. Again, it alleges you made an assault or an assault and battery upon a Janet Bradley, an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, contrary to MCL 750.81. In both count 3 and 4, restitution may be ordered as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. Both counts 3 and 4 are misdemeanors with a maximum penalty of 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Mr. Waits, do you understand the charges listed in count 1 through 4 and the maximum penalty in each?
I do. Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You have the right to be represented by counsel. Ms. Donnelly is representing you today for the purposes of your arraignment only. You have the right to have an attorney to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, but you economically qualify, you can request to have an attorney represent you at the expense of the public. Do you understand that?
I do, yes, Your Honor.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Thwaites, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You have the right to plead not guilty, and you have the right to stand mute. You have the right in this matter to proceed to preliminary examination because you're being charged with a felony. And you have the right to have preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date. At the time of your examination, you have the right to have the prosecution meet their burden to establish probable cause. So they have to establish that there's sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you as the defendant who committed the crime. Do you understand those rights so far?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
If this matter is to proceed beyond the preliminary examination, you would have the right to proceed to a trial. And you have the right to have a jury trial, or you can have a non-jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge or charges being brought against you. And at trial, they have to prove each of the elements beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses that they call at trial, and you have the right to call your own witnesses or present any evidence that you believe would further defenses to the charges. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And you have the right to be considered for pretrial release from custody. We'll address your bond in just a moment. For the purposes of his arraignment, is he pleading not guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Mr. Thwaites, you have a probable cause conference before Judge Cynthia Ward, Friday, September 30th, 2022 at 8:30 in the morning. You have a preliminary examination before Judge Cynthia Ward that's scheduled in person before her court Friday, October 7th, 2022 at 8:30 in the morning. Did you get your notice to appear and Zoom instructions?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Okay, and so those Zoom instructions again are for the option to appear via Zoom for your probable cause conference. Again, the preliminary examination is in person at the court. Are you currently employed?
Yes, I am.
Where's that?
I work for myself. I do construction. I'm a general contractor.
Okay. What's your home address?
1722 Glenrose Avenue.
And your phone number?
517-290-2534.
Do you have any questions at this time?
Oh, yeah.
Your Honor, it's my understanding that the alleged victim lives at the Glen Rose address. Mr. Thwaites has provided that he can stay with his mother, and he has that address on Onondaga and Mason.
Okay, what is the address?
571 South Onondaga Road, Mason, Michigan, 48854.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
No.
You can address bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Thwaites reports that he is from the Lansing area. Like I said, he can stay with his mother on Onondaga. He does report that this isn't his first time in trouble. In fact, he's had a similar case. He did prison time, and he reports that he successfully completed parole a couple of years ago. Other than that, he's reported no other violent crimes or felonies. He has been supporting himself through construction since he's old enough he could work. In fact, he recently, in the last year and a half, bought the home on Glen Rose. So I do believe he's not a flight risk. And given the allegations, though serious, I do believe that the standard conditions or there are conditions that could suffice to ensure the public. If that means tether or anything, Your Honor, we would just be asking, if not a personal cognizance bond, just a reasonable 10% or cash surety. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, count one here, criminal sexual conduct in the first degree is a felony, maximum penalty being life or any term of years with mandatory electronic monitoring. There's also a accusation of unlawful imprisonment for a period of several days. That's a felony, maximum penalty being 15 years and or $20,000. We have very serious charges here. And viewing his criminal history, I have this concerns about some of his other convictions because they are strikingly similar to the allegations that are before the court today. I believe there is a threat to the public safety at this time, and primarily threat to the victim. Bond will be denied at this time as count one is a felony with a maximum penalty of life. We can make another bond motion at the time of his examination or probable cause conference before Judge Ward, but at this point, bond will be denied. Any additional matters for the record?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you're all set, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Give it a second.
Are we ready for Mr. Porter?
So, Your Honor.
Okay. On the record in the matters of the people of the state of Michigan versus Jerry Porter. I have 3 files, file number 22-00595, 22-02513, 22-02520. Council appearances.
Thank you, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Sarah Donnelly on behalf of the defendant Jerry Porter for the purpose of arraignment only while he appears separately from the Lansing Police Department.
Okay. And so, Mr. Porter, today's the date that was set for arraignment. I'm going to start with file number 595. This matter you were previously arraigned on, it looks like back in March.
Yes.
For retail fraud, 2nd degree. It alleges that on or about February 28, 2022, at the area of 1625 West Mountain Hope, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count 1 commit the act of retail fraud 2nd degree. It alleges that while Family Dollar was open to the public, you did allegedly steal property of that store that was offered for sale at a price of less than $200. It says second or subsequent offense notice. It says it is further appearing that on September 23rd, 2019, said defendant was previously convicted of violating MCL 7503574 in the 54A District Court of Lansing. Therefore, this violation of MCL 750.356D4 constitutes a retail fraud in the 2nd degree, contrary to MCL 750.356D. It's a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 1 year and or $2,000 in fines, or 3 times the value or difference in the price of the stolen property obtained or attempted to be obtained, whichever is greater. It says to impose a fine of 3 times the value, the defendant must either admit the amount or it must be determined by the trier of fact at trial. The court may order reimbursement to the state or local government for expenses incurred in relation to the incident, including but not limited to expenses for emergency response and prosecution. Do you understand the charge there and the maximum penalty?
Me? Do I?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Was it
Okay.
1 year?
You were arraigned on this charge months ago. I just reread it because it's been so long.
Okay, I was.
Okay, and you were arraigned before. It looks like there was a plea of not guilty entered on your behalf, and you were supposed to appear for a pretrial back on March 14th.
Yes,
For
I
Judge
heard
Buchanan.
Yes, I heard you appear because I was at my friend's house over on the Carter over on 1023, I think, no, 1300 South Washington is the Carter building, they call it. And I had got a shot. And my ride had came late and I went to sleep because my shots made me go to sleep on my mental patient. I got a shot with Terry from community mental health. Like a be cool shot.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like
I missed my appointment. They didn't know I had to be there. He had came to me right while I had overslept. And it had to do some weed. I was eating keep that weed.
okay, so this matter looks like it's already been reset. And the new date's gonna be October 3rd, 2022 at 10:30 in the morning before Judge Buchanan, okay?
All right.
Did you get a copy of that notice?
Yeah,
Okay,
I got it. At 10:30?
at 10:30 in the morning.
All right. Got it.
Okay, file number ending in 2520.
That's
Okay, sir, I have another file here. This one alleges that on or about September 21st, 2022, at the area of 3222 South Martin Luther King, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count one commit the act of larceny in a building. It alleges that you did commit the crime of larceny in a store by stealing cell phones and electronic equipment, contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.360. That's a felony. The maximum penalty is 4 years and or $5,000 in fines and consecutive. The court shall order law enforcement to collect a DNA identification profiling sample before sentencing or disposition. Yes, sir.
They got all your stuff back yesterday, so I'll just give it all back to them.
I don't want to hear, don't say anything about it.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so again, upon examination of the complaining witness, the court shall order law enforcement to collect a DNA identification profiling sample before sentencing or disposition if not taken at arrest. Do you understand the charge there and the maximum penalty there, sir?
Yes, I do. I do, but
Okay.
Man, I'm about to tell my
Okay, well, we're gonna stop. I'm
gonna
gonna stop you.
All right,
Because I gotta advise you of your rights before I can even move on. You have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say, anything that you put in writing can be used against you. I have a court recorder that's sitting next to me. She's taking down everything that's being stated here today at your arraignment. So you don't want to, blurt out things that can be used against you because you have the right to remain silent, and then you have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You could blurt something out that takes away your presumption of innocence, okay?
all right.
All right. And so I also have here another citation. This one alleges that on or about September 21st, 2022, at 2:51 p.m. in the area of South Martin Luther King Boulevard and West Holmes Road, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly contrary to law commit the act in furnishing false information to the police officer. And that's a misdemeanor. Maximum penalty is 90 days in jail and or $500 in fines. Did you want to say something, sir?
Just one thing, obviously, when you're starting committee, I know if the guy was the ARP guy and then.
No, if it's the facts of the case, then no.
Okay.
We're gonna stop you, sir, because we just talked about it.
All right, I want him to shoot at some questions around him, so I give him.
Well, we just need to, it doesn't matter. We just need to plead not guilty.
Yeah, do you understand the charges that was read and the maximum penalty in each of those files?
Yes.
Okay. And so you have the right to be represented by counsel. Ms. Donnelly is representing you today for the purposes of your arraignment only, but you do have the right to have a lawyer at each stage of your court process. If you can't afford to hire a lawyer, you can ask to have a lawyer appointed to represent you at no cost to you. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, is he requesting court appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to remind you again that you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing will be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You have the right to plead not guilty, and then you have the right to stand mute. You have the right to proceed to trial in each of these matters, but in the matter that is the larceny in a building, that's a felony. So you have the right to proceed to a preliminary examination in that matter. At the time of preliminary examination, you have the right to have that within 21 days of today's date, and you have the right to have the prosecution put on sufficient evidence to meet their burden at preliminary examination, and that is that of probable cause. They have to establish that there's sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you as the defendant who committed the larceny. Do you understand that?
All right, yes.
Okay. You're scheduled for probable. I'm sorry?
Things probably were missing because somebody probably went in there before me, the door was wide open. It wasn't a break in there. His lodge, I took her for things and she recovered them. Then I came back, you would start writing the electronics when it rained.
All right, Mr. Porter, I don't want you to give the facts of the case. We're just here to get you a rain, okay?
Okay, thanks.
No.
Okay, so Mr. Porter, you have a probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan. It's going to be on Thursday, September 29th, 2022 at 9:30. And then you have a preliminary examination on this matter before Judge Buchanan. That's going to be Thursday, October 6th at 10 o'clock in the morning in person at the court.
All right.
And the furnishing false information, you have court before Judge Buchanan on October 4th at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I just want you to be clear here because you have a lot of court dates before Judge Buchanan, and I don't want you to get them confused or skip some of them. You have to be before Judge Buchanan on October 3rd, October 4th, and October 6th, and also on September 29th. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I have someone take me. His name is Terry. He works for the case with all my court dates and stuff. Terry, my caretaker.
Yeah.
Okay, your caretaker is going to need to know those court dates.
Yeah,
Okay, did you get some paperwork? Did you get paperwork that has those dates?
Yeah, I got him. I give him, he comes out every week to give me my shots and stuff and medicine.
Okay.
It's 1701 Robertson Street in Lansing.
Okay, so then you have the right in each of these matters to proceed to a trial, and at the time of trial, you have the right to be represented by counsel. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to have the prosecutor bring enough evidence to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses at trial or present any evidence that you believe would show a defense to the charge. Do you understand those rights, sir?
All right. Yeah.
Okay. I will see you to plead today, Ms. Donnelly.
Not guilty.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf on each of these files. You've already been provided your court date. Is he under evaluation with community mental health already?
He reports that he already has a case manager and receives, what is it? He goes weekly, once a week to see the case manager and shots.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, but a case manager helping me with my medication and stuff, see how I'm doing, and analyzing my mind and stuff, whatever you want to call it, see how I'm moving reality and everything.
What's your caseworker's name?
His name is Terry. Other than that, his name is Terry.
Okay. What's your home address, sir?
1701 Robertson Street.
Robinson?
Robertson.
Yeah.
Robertson. Is that in Lansing?
Yes. I have medication. I need to get you my medication too.
It's 48915.
It's at my sister's house on the north side.
Okay, I'm not sure what you're saying, sir.
No, I'm saying I need to get to my sister.
That's where his sister lives, Robertson.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna stay with your sister?
Yeah, I've been staying here for the last 8 years.
Okay.
8 years.
Do you have a phone? Do you have a phone?
No, I don't have one, but she has one. I need to know her number though.
I have her number, Your Honor.
Okay.
It's 517-394-0845.
Okay, but she doesn't have a transportation though.
Can you give me those last four again?
0845.
Okay.
That's my
Mr.
mother's
Porter,
phone.
do you have any questions, sir?
Yes, I'm moving. Didn't I get a personal guidance even though I felt the people, Mrs. Stacia J. Buchanan? Because I need to get some things taken care of. I need to get some medication. I need to go through, I'm gonna put myself in a program too. And they can bring me to my court date. I'm going to probably I'm on drugs and stuff again. The last time I came from jail, I told him that was life started to be a problem for me again. And I want to put myself in a program instead of going to prison and stuff. Put myself in something like House of Commons or Turning Point or something like that, or communication program, incorporate a drug program or something.
Oh, you want to put yourself in a drug program, sir?
Yeah, I want to not just exactly today, but like get back to my sister and give me some clothes and stuff, socks and underwear and stuff, and deep put myself in there because life is getting me rough. I was staying in the woods and stuff out there. They raided out there. They said out there, MLK out there by Hazel Lumber or whatever. I was still out there in the woods and stuff. I don't want to be out there no more. This is raining and stuff like that. You know, I got sick.
You definitely need some help, sir.
Yeah, I can go to my sisters and get my stuff together and get my nephew and take me out there. So what?
Well, your case manager can help you with that. See, that's what CMH is for.
Yeah, I knew. I was gonna talk to that today. I was gonna go to my sister's house and then get my own nephew, just take me out there and admit myself in there through community mental health. Out there in Pennsylvania and Jolly. Then, yeah, okay.
Okay,
That's what I
very good.
wanted to do. That would be more.
Do you have any questions for the court right now, sir?
Yes, it's even possible to have a person recognizance, even though I felt it the last time, it's been about, I don't know how many months it could have been, but.
I don't know about a personal recognizance right now. We're gonna let your attorney give me some information, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
You can address bond.
Your Honor, besides what has already been said, I'd let the court know that he was arrested in Lansing, so he's still within the jurisdiction. He's not fleeing it. He does receive disability, Medicaid, food assistance as reported. I believe the number is actually for his mother, Victoria Porter. He lives with his sister. And as already stated, he does have a case manager and an open case at CMH. He says he reports there for shots and to see his case manager once a week. But I do understand that these new allegations are while he was on bond for his old case. So if a PR is not a possibility, then we would just be requesting a low 10%. Thank you.
Okay, well, I don't think personal recognizance is appropriate for a number of reasons. He was already given a bond in another matter and had that pending while these new allegations were picked up. And then outside of that, he has missed court before. And I am concerned that if he's given a personal recognizance bond, he may not be able to get him back here in a timely manner to get this addressed. I mean, especially seeing as the other one has been sitting since March without being addressed. So I will grant a low 10% bond, but personal recognizance will be denied. So bond will be set in the amount on file 22-02520. It will be 2,010%.
Yes.
The bond at 22-00595. Which is the matter that was in warrant status.
Check for 300
That will
today.
I'm sorry?
I get a check for 300 today. That's all I get though. That's all I can come with is 300. I can do that. If you have a 300, I'll pay it. $300.
Okay, well, the bond on that one's gonna be set at 510%. And then the last file, which is file number ending in on 02513. That'll also be set at 510%.
Cause it holds that, what's the other?
300.
Oh, cool. I get that, yeah. Could you drop my sister until we get down here?
But you gotta show up in court, or otherwise you're losing that money.
Okay, I need that money. I need it, but I have to give me some steps today to program.
Did you have any questions, or did you need to speak to your attorney privately before we release you, sir?
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be
You want
good.
to speak to the attorney?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, then we're off the record. I'll put you in a private meeting room with Miss Donnelly, okay?
All right.
If you wanna talk to her, step there.
Hold on, hold on.
All right.
Okay, Miss Donnelly, are you all set?
Yes, that was everyone.
That's all I have.
All right then. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.